I'm back. Guys, welcome back to the Haunting of Mid-Level on the Mid-Level Media channel. I am your host, Ken, and I'm here to deliver you your weekly dose of spooky goodness here on this channel for Chapter 7 of the Haunting of Mid-Level. And yes, Chapter 7, if you are just now joining this show for the first time, I actually did 6 episodes of the Haunting of Mid-Level about 2 months ago. It has been quite a long time since I've done another one. I know that I've gotten some questions and stuff online. Ken, when are you going to do another Haunting of Mid-Level? We want the horror show back. And guys, I'm here. I'm delivering you the goods this week, delivering you the spooky, terrifying goodness of my horror show. And, you know, I'd like to think I'm back full time and I'm going to do this weekly now, but it's probably going to remain a limited series that I kind of get to when I do. And the entire reason for that and the reason I kind of stopped doing it is that I do a twice weekly live stream now with my partner Ultra HD Geek on the Levels of Geek channel, where we talk about the news topics of the day and stuff like that on our live stream. And it just got to be a little too much doing those two shows. I usually film the Haunting of Mid-Level on Wednesday nights, and that's when we do one of our live streams. So it got to be just a little conflicting with schedules and times and stuff like that. But I'm going to try to, if I do the Haunting of Mid-Level now, it's probably going to be released on Wednesdays. I'm going to shoot on Tuesday night like I'm doing right now. But you know, I'll always advertise it. If I'm doing a Haunting of Mid-Level episode, I'll put that advertisement up in my stories on Instagram. Follow me at Mid-Level Movie Reviews. I'll put the poll up for the Q&A questions. I got a lot of awesome Q&A questions this week that I cannot wait to dig into. But before I get to that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and ask that you please, if you haven't yet, go ahead and become a subscriber of the Mid-Level Media channel. I do all kinds of awesome movie, Blu-ray, 4K related content on this channel. I do a physical media report on Mondays where I break down all the news topics in the world of physical media, what's coming out in the coming months, what's coming out this week. I show off my collection. I answer more Q&A questions from you guys. It's just a good time sharing and talking about physical media on that show. I also do unboxing videos. I do reviews. I do all kinds of stuff on this channel. And hopefully I can get this Haunting of Mid-Level show back into rotation as we enter the more spookier months of the year with September and October heading into Halloween. I would really like to just start covering horror more, guys. And you know, I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to go a little dark here because we're in a dark place here on the Haunting of Mid-Level. I've been a little down lately, just with everything going on. I can't go out and see new movies. And I fell out of love just talking horror for a little bit. I just didn't really want to watch it. I'm kind of in a depressing mood already, and sometimes horror can have that effect that just when you're already in that mood, it just brings you down that rabbit hole even further. So I kind of haven't been watching a ton of horror lately, but I did watch a horror movie last week that I'm going to review a little later in the episode for you guys, but I'm kind of motivated right now. I'm kind of excited to talk horror, and that passion has come back, and it just came back out of nowhere. That's why I just decided to go ahead and put the announcement up. I'm going to bring back the Haunting of Mid-Level this week. I'm excited to talk about horror. That passion is back, and the questions I got today from you guys, the news stories I'm getting ready to talk about, it's all really exciting stuff that I cannot wait to dig into. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it because some news broke right before I started filming this episode that they are working on a Firestarter reboot by director Keith Thomas, who has a movie called Vigil that hasn't come out yet, but it's supposed to be coming out soon sometime. And this movie is being produced by Blumhouse. Big surprise. They produce every horror movie that comes out these days. And the screenplay is being written by the co-writer of Halloween Kills, whose name is Scott Teem. So I haven't really heard of him, but apparently he co-wrote the new Halloween film that's not coming out this October, but next October now after it got delayed. But guys, Firestarter, I'm a huge fan of this movie. I just watched it for the first time, I think last year. I have the Scream Factory right here. And I am super interested in everything that they're talking about with this film. And I'm going to break down this news story by bringing up this article on Dread Central. So what they're saying right here is Blumhouse's Firestarter reboot will sport heads catching fire and faces melting off. So that is just so awesome right there. Like, I don't know, guys. Firestarter is an awesome movie already. Like, I love this movie. Drew Barrymore is fantastic in the film. And this is straight up the inspiration for Eleven and Stranger Things. Like, to a T, Drew Barrymore is Eleven from Stranger Things. That's exactly where they got that character. I don't want to say Stranger Things ripped off Firestarter, because they actually ripped off a lot of things, and that's kind of their thing. But they ripped off Firestarter with the character of Eleven. So, I don't know. This is super interesting, guys. I'm excited. Hedge catching fire and melting off. So in an interview with Zavi, the director of the upcoming film said, when producer Jason Blum pitched it to me, it was exciting, as that's one of my favorite Stephen King novels, and whilst I really liked the 1980s film, I felt we could do something new. The screenplay is by Scott Teems, who wrote the upcoming Halloween Kills. It's an amazing script. It has everything you would want: people's heads catching fire and their faces melting off, and a dad and daughter on the run trying to survive being chased in this heightened, tense experience. We're hoping to film it this year, and it will be a lot of fun. So yeah, guys, I am totally on board for a Firestarter reboot. Like, I think it's the perfect time to do it. It's been 36 years. This movie was made in 1984, so plenty of time to do a Firestarter reboot. My only question is, because apparently they already wrote the script for it. So will this be a straight up remake or adaptation of the book, or is this going to kind of play off of the film that came out in 1984? Is it going to be like a kind of sequel reboot? Like, will Drew Barrymore perhaps be in this film? I think that would be super interesting. But yeah, guys, totally on board for this. Excited about it. If you guys are excited for a Firestarter reboot, please go ahead and leave that in the comments below. But let's move on to the next story, guys, because this is another one I'm pretty excited for. We got Deadline reporting that Courtney Cox, as of last week, I think this broke last Thursday, she will be returning for Scream 5. I kind of figured that she was, but we have Neve Campbell that's kind of on the fence, and she isn't 100% into it. So yeah, Courtney Cox is coming back. We already have David Arquette that was announced earlier this year that's coming back. So that's cool that she's signing back on. It's just now we have to get Neve Campbell on board. Like, I don't know what her issue is. She's holding out for more money, like what the problem is there, but you can't do another Scream movie without the Trinity. Like, those are the three. Like, you cannot do a Scream movie without those three, unless you're just going to go back and reboot it all together. It just wouldn't feel right if they just had David Arquette and Courtney Cox. So I have no doubt that they are going to get Neve Campbell for this. It's just a matter of when they get her. They're going to have to offer some money, of course, but when they get her, when they make the announcement, I'm sure that'll be coming in the coming weeks. But I can't imagine them doing a Scream 5 without Neve Campbell. It's just not going to happen. But the next story, guys, we're going to get into is Stephen King. And yes, this is a horror show, and I'm going to talk movies, I've talked TV shows, but I also might delve into some other areas of horror entertainment. I might talk about books. I might talk about video games. Who knows? But Stephen King has announced a new novel that he has written, and it's scheduled for March the 2nd of 2021. And the book is called Later, so they released the cover art. Apparently, this is pretty far along. He's probably finished it. But it's supposed to come out March 2nd, 2021, according to Amazon, which also has it up on their site already, I believe. But this story, it sounds super interesting. Let me scroll down here. And we'll go over the synopsis of it, see if it interests you guys. The son of a struggling single mother, Jamie Coughlin just wants an ordinary childhood, but Jamie is no ordinary child. Born with an unnatural ability his mom urges him to keep secret, Jamie can see what no one else can see and learn what no one else can learn. But the cost of using this ability is higher than Jamie can imagine, as he discovers when an NYPD detective draws him into the pursuit of a killer who has threatened to strike from beyond the grave. All right, so this is also Later is Stephen King at his finest, a terrifying and touching story of innocence lost and trials that test our sense of right and wrong. With echoes of King's classic novel It, Later is a powerful, haunting, unforgettable exploration of what it takes to stand up to evil and all the faces it wears. So this was the image of the book was tweeted out by Stephen King. He's pretty active on Twitter. So yeah, guys, look, I don't really do a lot of reading anymore. I'm going to be honest. I bought that Stephen King book I think it's called If It Bleeds, like a few months ago, and I haven't touched it. I read like the first 5 pages of it. I just can't. I got too much going on with work and doing the YouTube thing and trying to watch as many movies and TV shows as I can to keep up with all that. I just haven't had time to read lately, but I really wish I could get back into it. And Stephen King, man, he has been. I've been a long time fan of his since I was younger. I did a lot of reading when I was younger. I've read most of Stephen King's books. Like I read the entire Dark Tower series. I read, It and The Shining. I read all those books when I was like super young. So I always get excited about the announcement of a new Stephen King book. Mostly though these days I get excited about it because I know that it could be an adaptation in a couple of years. They'll seem to turn around pretty quick, especially what you're seeing with The Outsider on HBO. That book was only written, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and they already made it a mini series on HBO. But yeah, guys. So, are you excited for a new Stephen King book? Do you read? Unlike me, who's a big dummy over here, who doesn't read books. Let me know in the comments below if you're excited for a new Stephen King book. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, guys, because this is another one that's super exciting. And I actually have the poster up right behind me right there, and that's no coincidence. I put that up just for the story. But we have a new Jordan Peele movie that's been announced with the creator and star of Insecure, Issa Rae, and the movie is called Sinkhole, an upcoming film from Universal Pictures. So that's Universal teaming with Jordan Peele, teaming with Issa Rae. Now it is not confirmed if Issa Rae is starring in the film or if she is helping Jordan Peele make the film somehow, like producing it with him. And it has not been announced if he is actually directing the project either. So, but the movie looks really interesting, sounds really interesting from the synopsis. It says it will tackle questions of the female perfection and identity. So apparently it's about a hole in somebody's backyard. They put objects in it and it fixes them or something like that. And I guess it's about like her going into a female character going into the hole and kind of fixing themselves and coming out of it better. So I'm sure it'll have to do with like, someone that doesn't think they're beautiful anymore and they're going to jump in this hole and look beautiful or something like that. Yeah, it's anytime, Jordan Peele's name is attached to a project, just based off of the movie Get Out. Like, I think Get Out it's like my second favorite movie of the 21st century, horror movie of the 21st century. I think it's a freaking masterpiece. I think that in 50 years, you will look back at a movie like Get Out, like we look back at classic horror films like Psycho, like Rosemary's Baby, like The Shining. That's what I think Get Out is. I think it's going to transcend time, and Jordan Peele is a master filmmaker and did such an expert job on that one. So I will forever be interested in a Jordan Peele project going forward. Now, Us is a very good horror film. I love Us. It is not the level of Get Out, so I'm hoping that with a new film, hopefully he is directing this, that we're going to get another a masterpiece on the level of a Get Out. But that's a lot to ask of somebody, to deliver another classic like that, because those are like literally just a handful of those in the history of film, and he just so happened to make it in his first film. So it's going to be hard to live up to that for the rest of Jordan Peele's career. But yeah, I'm super excited for Sinkhole, though. Looking forward to that. Issa Rae, I'm not as familiar with. I did watch the Lovebirds movie on Netflix. She was in that. She was very good. So I'm sure she could do really great things in this film as well. But the next thing we're going to talk about, guys, is this new Zoom horror movie on Shudder. So I don't have Shudder as of right now. I got the free trial like a couple of months ago and then canceled it. But I might be getting it again because apparently this movie, it's called Host, and they filmed it, edited it, and put it out to us all while we were in quarantine. So they made it over the past 3 or 4 months, and this is just the creative process at its finest. And you're going to start seeing this kind of stuff more and more as we progress in this pandemic and this quarantine that we're currently in right now. You're going to be seeing these filmmakers doing creative things. And I think that, to be honest, like horror lends itself to this kind of creative process such as this, because it already has precedent with films like the Unfriended franchise doing this whole screen life thing. And I remember a few years ago we had the movie Searching, which is really good film with John Chow. If you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend checking that one out. When Searching came out, I remember Screen Life was going to be a thing that was going to start kind of taking, it was going to create a new genre. It's going to be a new genre. So I think that now a lot of filmmakers are going to be forced to maybe make more of these types of movies. But just going into more on the movie Host, it currently has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. 41 people have reviewed the film, so a lot of people are loving this film. It's got all positive reviews so far, so yeah, I'm interested in checking it out. I love found footage. I love the screen light genre. I liked both of the Unfriended films. I just like that genre. It like out of all the genres, out of all the subgenres within horror, for some reason like found footage and this type of stuff always like scares me, creeps me out, terrifies me more than the overly produced like theatrical films. But yeah, I'm interested in checking this one out. I might have to grab Shudder. And if you guys want me to review this, if you want to request that I review this film, please let me know in the comments. If I get enough support, I might go ahead and sign up for Shudder this weekend and give it a watch so I can review it on maybe next week's episode of The Haunting of Mid-Level. If I come back for Chapter 8 next week, it could be a possibility, guys. So if you want me to review The Host, let me know in the comments below. But that does it for that, guys. Let me talk about real quick a movie that I watched last week. It's been about a week since I watched it, but it's a film directed by Dave Franco, which is James Franco's younger brother, and this is his first film that he's directed. The movie was called The Rental, and it stars Alison Brie, Dan Stevens, of course, directed by Dave Franco. And the thing that I can say about this movie is the first hour of it. So first off, it's only an hour and a half, so it's not a huge time sink anyway. But the film, man, for the first hour, like I really wasn't digging it. I wasn't digging the characters. It was really just kind of middle of the road, very predictable. Just your standard horror movie stuff that you see in all these types of films like this. Four people go out to a cabin, not in the woods, but it was just like some kind of remote cabin getaway home for them to hang out with each other. One of them is cheating on their girlfriend with the other one. They're cheating with each other from their spouses who are sleeping like 2 rooms away. A bunch of like weird relationship drama and stuff like that. All things that you kind of knew where it was heading. Everything was kind of predictable, just how it was being set up. And then the movie in the last 20 minutes really won me over because those last 20 minutes, it turns into a straight up slasher film, and it's completely freaking awesome what happens. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I love the last 20 minutes of this movie so freaking much because I so desperately want the slasher genre to make a resurgence. It's just, I want that to come back. In this movie, in the last 20 minutes, they brought the slasher genre back, and not only that, but they set it up for a potential sequel at the end of it. And yeah, I would love it if this was kind of like a backdoor entryway into a new slasher franchise, because they introduce a new slasher, what could be a new slasher icon, with this guy at the end of it. And yeah, I was here for it. The last 20 minutes were completely awesome, and I ended up pretty positive on the movie because of those last 20 minutes. Now the first hour, the thing about the last 20 minutes, as awesome as it is, it doesn't really justify how boring and horrible the characters are for the first hour. But if this is a setup, like I said, to a new franchise, a new slasher franchise, I am here for it. I thought it was awesome, those last 20 minutes, and definitely check this one out if you are a slasher fan, because you'll love it. You'll love those last 20 minutes. So guys, moving on. This is usually where I would go into the collectible of the week, but this week I'm going to go ahead and do an unboxing of the Scream Factory Title 13 Ghosts for you guys. So check that out real quick, and I'll be back. Alright guys, so let's get into this quick unboxing of 13 Ghosts from Shout Factory. Look at this artwork. It is completely awesome. So I remember seeing this in theaters. I don't remember thinking it was the best, but I'm excited to check it out again. And this cover art, man, I just could not pass it up. Completely awesome on the front cover. Let's go ahead and look at this spine right here. You got the Scream Factory down there. You got the 13 Ghosts. You got the image right up here. Flip it over. You got that image of Matthew Lillard on the back. A nightmare come true for fans of seriously scary movies. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the special features right here, guys. Go ahead and read those. Down here we have the casting list. Go ahead and flip it over here on the other spine. Looks exactly the same. Let's go ahead and take it out of the case. And right here we have the same cover. We have the same spine. And we have the same back cover as well. So let's go ahead and pop it open. Take a look at this disc art. Awesome disc art. Scream Factory always does such a phenomenal job on their disc art. Just freaking incredible. But before we get off here, let's look at the last cool thing. And this is the same thing with all Scream Factory titles. This awesome reversible slipcover. Awesome, guys. This is the original poster art from the film. Freaking awesome. Let's look at the spine right there. Let's look at the reverse. We have a different image up here at the top. Shannon Elizabeth in this film as well. All right. Yeah, guys. Freaking awesome set. I cannot wait to dig into this and watch it. Put the cover back on. And let's get back to the episode. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the unboxing. So we are back and we are going to get into the Q&A portion of the show. So the first question I got, and I got a lot of amazing questions this week. These are freaking awesome questions that I got. You guys are awesome for submitting these questions. But the first one I got is Ryan, the movie nerd. And he asked, what are the best horror sequels? Now, this one to me, the first two that pop into my head is Scream 2. I think that Scream 2 is almost as good as the first one. It is a phenomenal sequel to that franchise. I love Scream 2. So that's definitely probably top of the list, my favorite horror sequel. The next one being Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. That is an amazing sequel to that franchise. Definitely the best sequel of the entire Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And yeah, just the Dream Warriors, just everything they do in that movie. It's almost like an X-Men film, and it's completely awesome. I love Dream Warriors. And the last one I'm going to bring up is Halloween 2018. That is a great sequel to the original Halloween. It is my favorite Halloween sequel. Yeah, I can't wait for Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Damn shame we got to wait another year to see that film, another year and a half almost. But all right, guys. So the next question comes from Levels of Geek fan Triboro Gigolo, and he was one of the ones that was wondering when this Haunting of Mid-Level will come back. So it's back, buddy, and I'm here to answer your question. He asked me, worst sequel of a horror franchise. So this was a fun one to come up with, and the first one that came to mind is another Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. And no, it's not one you would expect. It's not Freddy's Dead. It's not Nightmare 5. It's not Nightmare 4. It's Nightmare 2. I hate that one. I hate Freddy's Revenge. It doesn't have anything to do with like the mainline story. It has nothing to do with the rest of it. And I just don't like the movie. It's just not that good. But I will say the first 5-10 minutes of that movie, the school bus scene, I love that scene. I love the scene. The rest of the movie is shit, and I don't like it. The next one I would say is The Bride of Chucky, because it kind of signified the downfall of the Child's Play franchise, and I really do not like Bride of Chucky. When I go back and rewatch it now, I tolerated it when I was younger. When I go back and watch it now, I freaking hate it. I hate everything about it, and it's like I said, it signified the end of the Child's Play franchise for me, and went into that kind of slapstick Chucky crap that I just did not enjoy with that. And Seed. Curse tried to walk it back a little bit, but then they went off the rails again in Cult. So, and that's why I actually like the reboot, because I like the different tone that they established with it. But next up, guys, we're going to get a question from M. Legalt17, and he asked me, what are your thoughts on the Wrong Turn franchise? So I hate to disappoint you, M. Legalt, but I've only seen the first Wrong Turn, and I know they've made like 10 of them by now, but I've only seen the first one. I remember liking the first one. It's a solid slasher film. I actually, because I love slasher so much, I probably need to go back and watch all of those movies at some point. I think I'm going to maybe try to put a couple of them, at least one, this Halloween season for my 31 Days of Horror. So I'm going to try to go back and put that on there for sure. But yeah, sorry, man, I've only seen one of those. So next question we got from General Hot Batman, and he asked me, will one day a new slasher icon be popular like Ghostface or Michael? So I guess with this question, you're trying to ask me, will there be a slasher icon resurgence? Will we see another era like the 80s where you had Freddy, you had Jason, you had Michael, you had Chucky, all these iconic slasher icons, legendary slasher icons? I don't think we'll ever see something like that again, because that was very much of its time. But I hope that we get another slasher icon. You've seen a few of them come out since the 80s. You know, you have Ghostface from Scream, but the thing about Ghostface is it's not one person. It's always somebody different, so it's hard to say that is a slasher icon, because it's all kinds of different people. But And you know, we've had stuff like the parody series Hatchet with Victor Crowley. We've had you know, there's been different things that's come out. Jeepers Creepers, if you would count that as a slasher. Um, a few of them that I can think of, but definitely nothing prominent since the 90s with Ghostface and Chucky and Hellraiser and all that stuff. But yeah, man, I would love to see it. I would love to see that style of horror come back, but I just don't think that, just with all the technological advancements and stuff like that with horror and what people are into now and just the direction I see it going right now, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Who knows? Maybe in 30 years, slashers will slapstick, cheesy horror will make a great comeback and we'll see all that kind of stuff again. But I don't know. For me, to me, it would be incredibly hard to replicate that 80s era. And that's just why the 80s is the best decade for horror. I mean, you're not going to find a better decade than the 80s. But let's move on to the next question, guys. Unboxing movies with me ask, what are my thoughts on Scream 5? So I kind of got into that a little bit earlier with Gail Weathers. So pretty much my thoughts at this point are that they need Neve Campbell. If they've got Courtney Cox, if they got David Arquette, they need to get Neve Campbell. They can't do the movie without her. But you do have the directors of Ready or Not that are doing this movie. I think that the first time I heard that, because I enjoyed Ready or Not, I didn't think it was like the best horror movie of 2019 like some people did. It was very enjoyable, very fun. I think that they fit that tone, that Scream tone with that movie. So I actually think it's a pretty good choice bringing those guys in to direct Scream 5. But at this point, guys, yeah, pretty much I'm just holding out for Neve Campbell because you have to get her. You can't do it without her. All right, but the next question, guys, the last question comes from the Brock Opside. He asked me, do you think some horror films work better on VHS due to smaller picture and poorer quality? So I love this question because absolutely, absolutely, I think that horror lends itself better to horror quality. That's why I still have my VHS tapes. That's why I kept, when I got rid of all my DVDs like a few years ago, I did a big physical media purge. I sold all my DVDs because I thought I was going to go digital. And then a couple of years later, I started buying up Blu-rays. But when I did that, I kept my horror DVDs. And I kept them because I feel like horror, that lower quality, that lower film grade, does lend itself well to horror because there's just something about watching horror on just a small dingy TV with poor quality and the little static going through it, and it just feels right. It feels right to me. That's how I grew up watching all of these movies. And it's just once you start to put them in HD and then you put them in 4K and you start really seeing everything, it kind of takes away a little bit of the mystery and the scariness of it. Really, I mean, because you're seeing everything. When you watched it on VHS, you had to kind of look. Well, is that something in the corner over there? And you couldn't tell because it's VHS and it was just poor quality. So yeah, I absolutely think horror is lends itself to a VHS or a DVD better than other films, better than like a war movie from back in the day or a sci-fi movie that actually benefits from the HD upgrade and 4K resolution and stuff like that. But yeah, horror, man, watching a horror movie on VHS, it's just, there's nothing else like it. It'll always be awesome to watch horror on VHS or even DVD. But that is a great question. So with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the show, The Haunting of Mid-Level, Chapter 7. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. And yeah, I was super excited to come back and do this. And I'm hoping that I can get back next week and do a Haunting of Mid-Level because this is the kind of stuff I want to start doing again on my channel because I enjoy it. I enjoy horror. And even if not a lot of people watch, even only 10, 15 people watch, I love talking horror. I love talking horror with you guys, engaging with you guys. So before I get off here, I want to ask again, please comment down below. Let's start up a horror conversation. You can go ahead and get in your question next week if you want to go ahead and ask it. Let me know if you want me to review that new Zoom horror movie Host on Shudder. I'll do that as well. So with that, guys, if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and like this video, comment down below, and we'll see you next time. Stay spooky.